All right. I have the little red box in the top left-hand corner telling me we're live. So here we are, another episode of the K-Stream podcast, episode 20, actually. I was just talking with our guest before this. So nice little milestone. I'm happy about that. Obviously, hope to keep it going. Thank you for tuning in and listening. Here at K-Stream, we like to talk to business owners and creative folks, marketers who are doing cool stuff in the video space, the streaming space. And today's guest, he is a copywriter, runs his own copywriting business, also produces his own podcast called the Copy Corner, produces a newsletter, all kinds of stuff. He can tell you better, I'm sure. Terry Schilling, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, Jeff, thank you so much, man. Happy to be here.
So yeah, like I said, you can probably give yourself a better introduction than I could give. So just quickly, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Run a copywriting shop, a little fancier word, a cooler way to say, freelance copywriter. Been doing that for over 3 years on my own, but, have past experience working for agencies, a couple other odd jobs, like started out as a journalist or wannabe journalist in college. And I feel like most journalism majors, we switched to marketing from what I see across, social media and meeting people. Right now, outside of doing work for clients and mostly focused on like writing conversion copy for websites, email sales pages. But a big part for me is just creating content and being able to make connections with people and kind of fostering community, if you will. So run co-host a podcast, like you said, the Copy Corner with my friend Dan Marzullo, another talented content writer. Have variety of different other things that I've done regarding the streaming side of things. Just like to be active, and video is just a big part of it as well.
And you also, I've been following. So I got introduced to your stuff, Terry. I think it was just kind of maybe a mutual connection on LinkedIn. Or commented on one of your posts or something, and I always found the things you share on LinkedIn are so insightful and informative. And I was, thought I got to follow this guy, obviously when it comes to copywriting, but just somebody to look to if you're looking to build your brand, so to speak. I think you do that really well. So I've been following you for a while, and I also you also kind of you've recently developed like some, I guess, packages. I don't know if that's the right word, right? But you kind of also have kind of put some of your knowledge into packages that you can also sell to and promote to other copywriters. Is that right?
Yeah. So like it's kind of like an interesting point in my business where, we do all this client work, right? And it's like, well, what else, can I do? Like, is it going to be client work forever? Is there a way to reach that mythical and beautiful passive income? And so I just got to a point like creating a lot of this content, gaining a lot of experience, and just like, what can I do to help other writers? And then also to maybe make some money from it as well. Like, how can I offer some help? And so started doing really a big freelance template bundles, proposal template bundles for really freelancers in general, who just doesn't matter what your skill set is. If you're working with clients and trying to get business, what ways to sales call script questions, like what kind of questions to ask to help, increase your chances of, landing a new project, and also things to include in your proposal, legal terms, to help protect yourself, discovery questionnaires for clients, a lot of these things that take a lot of time if you do them from scratch, or if you're, second guessing yourself after sending a proposal. These are things that I've, perfected is a weird word, but I guess I've just kind of edited and improved along the way to help my chances. So a couple, different products that I offer there.
And what kinds of clients are you typically working with on the copywriting side of things?
Yeah, good question. So I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, whether that be startups, with people too, just in, the marketing, some people in the wellness, real estate, like really service providers, really help them, with brand messaging and website copy. And then another part of my business is working with larger enterprises on email marketing and copy consulting. Been really starting to get more into that for the past like year and a half, of just working with their marketing teams on improving their, either it's website copy, whether it's email marketing copy. So that's been pretty cool too, is just them like paying for my brain instead of my typing skills.
Absolutely. And so we hit on it a little bit at the top. I've noticed you incorporate a lot of video, at least into promoting your own business, on your,
Yeah.
on your personal channels. So, and a lot of that video comes from, I think, the Copy Corner podcast. So let's talk about
Yeah.
your podcast a little bit.
Sure.
Who's what's the focus of that? Who's the audience?
Yeah. I guess I'll start with a quick origin story.
Yeah.
We were chatting before we jumped live here, just about like kind of why you started it. It was kind of a quarantine project. And Copy Corner for me was just right before quarantine. And I like wanted to create some content, wanted just ways to, repurpose things and just have like a stream of things I could put out there to bring attention to my brand and also to help people as well, like offer copywriting tips. I'm just a big believer, like if you have experience and know something, share that with the world, because what comes easy to you could be like a game changer for somebody else like starting out. So just wanted a way to do that. And like I knew this guy from like seeing him on LinkedIn and Instagram. We've connected, who was Dan. We're like, why don't we just start a podcast and, pick topics and share, what we know, but let's keep them 10 minutes or less, like do our best to keep them short. And so that's how we started it. And we did it through like Skype and Ecamm to begin with. And then we eventually moved to StreamYard, where
Nice.
we started just doing it live on YouTube, on LinkedIn, but then also then turning that audio into a podcast. So at first it was just a video show. That's what we wanted to do. Let's do a video series.
Okay.
But then like people would be like, hey, where can I listen to the podcast? Everybody not everybody, it seemed like more people were thinking it was a podcast. So we decided, all right, let's just go ahead and, sign up on Anchor and with the audio up there. And, the audience is for, people who in marketing, freelancers, copywriters, any type of like business owner, a marketing skill is copywriting. And so we want to, touch on a variety of projects, whether that's psychology hacks, whether that's things to write better headlines, call to actions, social media captions. But then there's also some freelance side of things too, of just like how to deal with, scope creep with clients. We'll talk about just from our personal experience too. But we try our best to keep it copywriting focused and help others, whether they're, in the marketing team for a bigger brand or marketing team for their company or in social media. It's like, oh, Terry and Dan's tips helped me, get more engagement on a social media post. Just like little tweaks that you can make, that might like hit that proverbial light bulb in their head to like take action. That's really the goal of it, ultimately.
That's awesome. Yeah, it is amazing. I came from a journalism background too.
Oh, there we go.
I did a master's program at American University quite a few years ago now, and I actually, it was like an interactive journalism program, all like incorporated all the digital elements that were relevant at the time. And however, they made it a point, even though like if I wanted to be more on the video side of things, or if I wanted to go into more audio-based journalism, they made sure that writing was a part of every class, because you're right. It is, if you're not in marketing, or if you're not like actually writing copy, you're always, you're writing emails. You're, like you said, you're probably doing pitches of some sort, and writing just shows up and seems like everything we do.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it gets overlooked. I think like people with copy, it's like, well, we want to write like this big attention grabbing headline. And I think like there's just more that you can dive deep into when it comes to it. And, I always like to use like a line from Joseph Sugarman, who's a very renowned copywriter and has this great book, like the Adweek Copywriting Handbook. But like one line that like always just connects with me is just like the purpose of a headline, but almost like the purpose of good copy is to get them to read the next line and the one after that. And I think when you like have that mindset of just like, all right, how can I get them to read the next line and ultimately act, like do what I want them to do, like don't lose their attention. You can find formulas and you just find like different ways, whether that's through storytelling, just to find ways to do that, to get them to read the next line. And it's been fun just learning a lot of those different like formats and ways to do that, from my perspective.
Yeah, and I wanted to I saw I'm guessing this is like a recurring thing that you see or that people, I don't know if it's necessarily that like people need help with it or whatnot, but something
Hmm.
you seem to go back to a lot in different forms, like on your social channels, and I saw you tweeted it about today, is like
Mm,
one of the easiest things to know about effective copywriting is tell people how cool they can be, not how cool you are. For example,
yeah,
don't say we are redefining task management, but you can say instead, open one app to see your to-do list, not five.
yeah.
Um, so that something is that something that kind of you see a lot, or that you're trying to like drill into people's minds these days?
Yeah, I guess like subconsciously, just when they think of that saying, because I've said it a lot. I've had it on my website. It's really my marketing copywriting, which is really my copywriting philosophy at
Mm,
the end of the day. Like I wanted something in a way to, like, I don't know, in a weird way, like be a signature saying, right? Or something that just like gets
sure.
behind my brand. And that kind of helped me come up with the cool copy newsletter. Just come up with something simple. Um, but the thing is, like, I see a lot of copy and like people say things of just like, don't talk about me and I, talk about you, like the customer, right? Put the focus on them, like what's in it for them, that focus. And I took that, like, what's in it for them? What's a way that I could say that might be just easier? Because everybody's like, oh, customer first, customer focused language. But like, what does that mean? What's like an example of that? And so I just framed it as tell people how cool they can be, how cool they can feel, instead of how cool you are. So like the we are like, I can help you do this. You can flip that to be discover how you can achieve XYZ, right? Like you're putting them, first. You're talking, to them instead of at them.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's just that, I'm sure we all need the reminder every so often. It is hard to, it's easy to say like we need to be in that mindset, but to write that way is another thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Um, so back to the podcast, and you met, so that was
Yeah.
interesting. You mentioned, because like you these days it seems like people are going the other way. They're starting a podcast and then
Yeah.
they're like, oh, I should probably add a video element to it. So you were streaming and you were streaming the podcast first, and that, or it wasn't even a podcast, it was like a show, right? It was like just
Yeah.
a video or social media show, and then you went and started posting the audio.
Yeah, absolutely. It's because it was like, I think at first it was an easier way for us to just record and put out content, like go
Mhm.
live. No, none of this like editing or like stopping and going and redoing it. If we mess up, we laugh at ourselves and we have fun with it. Um, and so it's just become like, people really do listen to this stuff or prefer it in audio form, whether they're, walking their dog, running errands, driving around. It's like, it's hard for them to, look at the road driving with their phone video.
Yeah.
I think we were focusing on, like, LinkedIn was really big on video. A lot of people weren't really taking too much advantage of it. So we wanted to jump on that. Right. But then it just turned out, let's just do a podcast, keep it under 10 minutes. And, honestly, for the past like 6 months, we've started to market it more, and we're starting to see more downloads and more people talking about it. And yeah, but the video element is great because we can turn that into like an Instagram reel, a TikTok, a LinkedIn video for 2 minutes, and link it back for people, to listen to the full episode. Give them a little sneak peek of something and be like, hey, if you want to learn 3 other tips, check out the full episode here.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned that you kind of just roll with the live aspect of it. You don't really, you're not focused on
Yeah.
recording and editing. And I've produced a lot of remote live productions over the last couple years, and
Mm-hmm.
when you get guests who aren't familiar with, going live or doing anything like that, they always want to know if there's like an option to record their part ahead of time, or people that are just hesitant to be on camera in general. And it's amazing how
Yeah.
often I've found that, of course, and I always try to steer them in the direction of just doing it live, because one, your personality comes across better.
Yeah.
You're
True.
likely to just do the presentation better in general, because you just have to keep rolling with it, even if you slip up a word, and in
Yeah.
reality, nobody really cares. So that's it, and I've tried to drill that into people's minds, like, if we do have to record, we're going to do it live to tape. Like, I don't,
Yeah.
because you just get so much more personality when you
Yeah.
when you don't you have the option to redo.
Yeah, absolutely. There's like the stakes are higher, right? Like inside, you just feel a little bit more pressure.
Yeah.
But once you get used to it, it is just easy. Like I said, we just click record, and instead of like we plan out a little bit ahead of time of what we want to say in it, and we just kind of let the conversation flow like a natural conversation. And I think we've been fortunate to hear people give us some feedback of just kind of how loose and personable it feels as well with our podcast, which is cool. We try to have a lot of fun with it. And
Yeah,
I'll
and I
razz
think
Dan, and Dan will razz me too. And we have like the same things we say over and over again, and we like will call it out. It's just a good time.
And how many episodes are you guys up to now?
Oh man, that's the wrong question to ask, because I am not even sure. We don't really I don't even know if we keep track.
Oh,
The very
okay.
first few episodes aren't even in podcast form. They're like living in, one of our external hard drives, I think, at this point. But they were like out on LinkedIn.
I did see you shared, I think you guys just recently hit a couple thousand plays or something like that, right? That's awesome.
I did, yeah. We hit over 2,000. Like I said before, we weren't really, we're really promoting it too much as the
Yeah.
podcast. We're just kind of like here and there. And then now, like, I'm like posting it in the newsletter more for people to go check it out. More on Instagram too. And yeah, just letting people know. I'm going to see if I can look up as we're talking to see.
So yeah, while you're looking that up, what kind of so you mentioned you guys use StreamYard. What kind is that a Blue Yeti mic I see there?
Yes.
What
Yep.
what kind of equipment do you got going on in your,
Yeah.
in your setup?
Yeah, a Yeti Blue mic. I got a ring light here. Maybe you can see from the reflection of my glasses. I got how do you say, is it Logi? I don't even know. I always just see Logi. Do you know?
I think I say Logitech, but that could
Logitech.
Maybe it's
That's what I say
Logitech
too. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's Logitech. I guess depends what your accent is, wherever you
There
are
you
in
go.
the world. But I have that, HD webcam, but I also have a DSLR camera that I typically do for the copy corner.
Yeah.
Plug that in through CamLink to do all that. Use StreamYard. We also sometimes use Zencaster. I just find that Zencaster is really good with audio because it records it directly from the computer. It's a little bit clearer than StreamYard. But StreamYard is great because we can stream in multiple places, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, even Instagram. There's a little bit of way to go around it on Instagram, but you can do it. But yeah, StreamYard's been great just because we can see chats in real time. And, we use that even when we've done our webinar too for streaming, which is great because that's to go off on a little tangent. But if anybody listening out here wants to create a free webinar, sign up for StreamYard for free, then broadcast to YouTube unlisted, and then just give people the link when they sign up and then go live on YouTube. And then you can record it if you like, download it from YouTube, and there you go. Then you can repurpose it and give the replay. But it was so easy because I was like, do I have to pay for something to do a webinar? And I'm like, no. I was like, let me just go through YouTube. And we've done that for like 3 of them. And, I've done it for a lot of my like mini master classes in my Facebook group, like exclusive to that. And it's just super easy.
I'm glad you mentioned that about Zencaster too. That's another one I've been meaning to try. I've recently tested out Riverside FM as well, and that's kind of I think a similar thing where it records individual audio tracks. It records it can record, I think it records each person's video feed like individually on their own computer, and then when the broadcast is done, it uploads that to your to like your Riverside account. So then you can, after the fact, you're working with like fully HD videos. And I really like that about Riverside. And Zencaster does something similar, right?
Yeah, they do. Almost identical to what you just said. What's nice too about Zencaster, as far as I know, it's still free if you sign up, but they do record it in 1080p HD for like the free version for video. That's so great. Even if you want to do a video element on a podcast, it's really nice as well. I think like the advantage though with StreamYard, which is what we're using right now. So not to like, not to promote one over the other.
Of course.
But StreamYard just gives you more elements within the broadcast, which is fun. Like we can put up banners and we can put up
Right.
questions and share people's comments as well.
Speaking of which,
Yeah,
forgot to throw my
exactly like
logo
that.
up there.
Yeah, put your brand up there. Yeah, I've also done, and I'm looking to bring it back soon, a show called Whose Tagline Is It Anyway? I don't know if you were following me along, when I did that. It's been a while.
Yes.
I think January was the last one I did.
Okay.
The people want it back. When I say the people, maybe one person asked if I want it. But it was a fun game where I would bring on someone like you, Jeff, and then I have my assistant Liz, Liz the VA. She's great. She kind of like moderates it, co-hosts it with me. And then I even have a producer in the background who does all like the music and timer. And, we had a lot of fun with it. So it just kind of gives you an idea of what all you can do with StreamYard. And it was just really fun. But I'm looking to bring it back.
I like it. Oh, well, I'll tune in. I'll look out for the promos.
Yeah.
So just, and going back to your podcast. So, one thing we were talking about too, ahead of going live was just the networking that comes with doing a podcast, just the people you get to meet, the connections you make. How has doing something like the Copy Corner helped your business?
Yeah, no, great question. I think it just brings awareness to, what I do, what Dan does as a writer. And I think it helps build authority for me and that trust where, we talked about some of those products that I offer. It brings attention to my newsletter, which is great because, I give away free content from there. But if I ever offer anything or offer a service, I have those potential customers down the line too, through an email list. And just like that content, I think at the end of the day, it just gets my name out there. It's awareness, the authority element of it. So when people say like, oh, I need help with my website copy, or I'm looking for a copywriter to help me do this, I know Terry, let me see if he's available or knows somebody. Right. So I think that's just a big way that it's helped my business. And, when I would do streams for my Facebook group and, whose tagline is it anyway? The people that I would interview and talk to, it would just be about like marketing strategy focused on what they do. A few of them have become clients of mine where they hired me to write, email marketing or help me do their website. So no really even soft selling at all with that element of it. It's just you build that rapport and trust. And so you're just staying top of mind.
Absolutely. I think, doing something like a podcast, long form content, something live, we hit on it earlier, that's how I think people are more likely to connect with you in that way.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned, you use a lot of what you get out of your podcast and show, and then sharing that on Instagram and LinkedIn. And like I said, I think I've began following you because of just it was a more longer form written post on LinkedIn. How, why is it important, if someone is looking to build a personal brand, why is it important to consider posting content like that? And how has it, I'm sure it's similar answer to the podcast, but how's that helped you too?
No, yeah, I think with like a personal brand, like a lot of it is just how people like, there's a lot of like perception and just what they see you online and what you're known for at the end of the day. And I think if I have like a consistent tone and consistent presence across social media, it's like some I'm more active on others. I try not to put so much pressure on posting everywhere, but going live and having that content, it eases that pressure where you can create one piece, create a tweet from it, create a quick video on LinkedIn, and just let people know, like, maybe you share different tips across different channels, but just lets people know, kind of who I am, what I offer. And it just opens that door where they can get to know me a little bit better too, especially through the video content where they can like see my mannerisms, see my face and get a little more, look into my personality.
Right. Absolutely.
From a personal branding standpoint, if you want to grow it and you want like people to just get to know you more, instead of just, through words, behind the screen, like get in front of people and, let them kind of inside to your process and your brain and, what you look like at the end of the day too, right?
Absolutely. I would
putting
think that can
putting
only
a
help
face
the
to the
connection.
name, right? Yeah.
Yes. Well, I think that's a perfect way to start wrapping this one up, Terry. I really
Awesome.
appreciate the time, but of course, before we go, let folks know where they can learn more about you and maybe see some of your work.
Yeah, appreciate it so much. So you guys can look up the Copy Corner. We'll stay, focused on that too. Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google as well. So definitely listen to the episodes there. You can follow me on LinkedIn. Just find Terry Schilling, copywriter. You'll be able to find me there and on Instagram. And if you're interested in weekly emails of copywriting tips, check out the Cool Copy newsletter and subscribe there. I appreciate the support there. Recently reached over 1,000 subscribers there too. So
Hey.
slowly hitting some milestones, which is really fun. And if we end anything, it's like consistency is key through all of this as well when it comes to streaming content creation.
Yes. And is your website terryshillingwrites.com?
Yes. Yeah.
That I want to make sure I had that right
Yeah.
okay,
Yep.
there it
You can
is.
find a lot of my stuff there, the products, a lot of information there. Appreciate it.
All right. Of course. Well, Terry, thanks again. Really appreciate the time. And I'll of course follow up with you soon when this gets up. But
Yeah.
thanks so much, man. I really appreciate it. It was a pleasure talking.
Yeah. Likewise, Jeff. Pleasure. Take care.
All right.